Things are not going according to plan. Natalie Morgen sat at a little metal cafe table on the stone terrace outside her guest house, watching the latest herd of tourists surge off the ferry. An aroma of anise rose from her glass, melding with the smoke from her cigarette and the scent of the sea. A melange of dead things and salt, of the abundant seaweed and muck that marred the shallows during low tide. Island sounds wafted over on the ocean breezes. The histrionic seagulls squabbling over a bucket of Scrab's loich had tossed out the back door of Pouce Café. The rhythmic laughing of the waves in the snug harbor. The murmurs of visitors enjoying lunch at outdoor tables. The occasional clacking of a pétanque ball hitting its mark. Natalie imagined the newly arrived tourists mistook her for a native sipping her glass of pastis, though most of the actual natives preferred beer or hard cider, and enjoying a sunny day on the beautiful island. And sitting here like this, Natalie could almost convince herself that life was good. That everything was going according to her carefully thought-out plan. Lounging on the terrace of her ancient guest house, its rusted iron gate still secured with a heavy steel chain because the Bagnose was not yet open to guests, even though accommodations were well-nigh impossible to come by on the Ile-de-Femme during tourist season. Bulbox strutted by, clucking in contentment. The fluffy white hen had come with the house and had made herself a little nest in the shed. Ridiculously long snowy white feathers on the top of her head quivered and swayed with every confident step, reminding Natalie of stylish Parisian ladies in photographs of yore, parading along the Champs-Élysées in their feathered chapeaux. Paris. What had Audrey Hepburn said? Paris is always a good idea. Maybe for Audrey. She was rich and beautiful. Absent-mindedly scratching at a mosquito bite, Natalie realized she was clenching her jaw, willed herself to relax. Took another sip of pastis, and turned her attention back to the ferry passengers. Trying to get their bearings, the newcomers weren't talking much as they staggered along the walkway that hugged the thick stone seawall. Some carried inflatables and beach toys, others clutched scraps of paper with instructions directing them to their rented guest houses or to the Almen, the only hotel on the island. It must have been a rough crossing. Most of the children and more than a few of the adults were decidedly green around the gills. A storm had thrashed the region yesterday, and though to the unpracticed eye the sea today appeared calm, Natalie had lived on the island long enough to have learned a few things from the locals, such as how to read the water. Or, at the very least, when to ask a local to read the water for her. Even after a storm appeared to have passed, waves lingered and surged. The swells rippled out and down, the awesome energy of the sea needing time to settle, to balance, to find its footing once again, lulling sailors and landlubbers alike into a false sense of security, only to slam them with choppy water if they dared venture too soon onto open sea. Sounds like a metaphor for life. Natalie made a mental note to post this, or some poetic version of it, on her social media accounts. She should post some photos as well. It had been a while. Too long. She had a lot of followers to keep happy. Her readers loved the snapshots of Natalie's life on an island off Brittany's Côte Sauvage, or Wild Coast, where she was renovating an ancient guest house with the proceeds from her best-selling memoir. In fact, some of the new arrivals lurching off the ferry might well be women of a certain age who had read Natalie's inspirational tome about finding love and self-fulfillment through the art of French cooking, and had decided to come to the Ile-de-Femme in search of love and self-fulfillment themselves. But, as Natalie had learned in a most painful way, the Ile-de-Femme was still an île, an island, which meant that if you didn't bring it with you, you weren't likely to find it here.